When Harper Reed found the note under the drifter's plate, her hand started shaking so badly she almost dropped it. And when she read what he'd written, not just the words but the implication, the promise, the impossible offer, she realized that her carefully controlled life was about to be turned completely upside down by a man she'd served coffee to for exactly 43 minutes. But we need to go back. Back to the beginning of the shift. Back to when Harper was just another single mother working double shifts to make rent, and Dominic "Dom" Kane was just another mysterious stranger passing through Riverside, Montana, and neither of them knew that one chance encounter was about to change everything. 11 hours earlier, Harper's alarm went off at 5:47 a.m., exactly 3 minutes before her daughter Lily's bedroom door would creak open, and a sleepy 6-year-old would shuffle in asking about breakfast. This was Harper's life now. Precision timing, careful budgeting, every decision calculated to keep their small world stable. She'd been doing it for 2 years, since the accident that killed her husband Jake, since the insurance money ran out, since she'd moved back to her hometown and taken the only job available at Maggie's Diner on Highway 89. The diner was classic Americana, red vinyl booths, checkered floors, a jukebox that only played country music from before 1995. It attracted truckers, travelers, locals who wanted to complain about the weather and the government in equal measure. The tips were small but steady, and Maggie let Harper bring Lily to work after school until her shift ended. It wasn't the life Harper had planned, but it was the life she had, and she'd learned to be grateful for stability even when it looked like survival. "Mama?" Lily appeared on schedule, dragging her stuffed rabbit. "Can we have pancakes?" "We can have oatmeal," Harper said gently, "but I'll make it with cinnamon and honey like Pancake's cousin." Lily considered this seriously. "Okay, but tomorrow pancakes? Tomorrow's Saturday. That's a pancake day." The morning routine unfolded like choreography they'd perfected through repetition. Breakfast, getting Lily dressed for school, the walk to the bus stop, Harper's return to shower and change into her uniform before her 8 a.m. shift started. She was refilling the coffee station when Maggie emerged from the kitchen, wiping flour-covered hands on her apron. "Table 6 just sat down," Maggie said. "Looks like a drifter. Probably just wants coffee and directions." Harper glanced at table 6, a booth by the window. The man sitting there was striking in a way that made her instinctively cautious. Dark hair, leather jacket, the kind of stillness that suggested he was either very comfortable or very dangerous. Maybe both. "I've got it," Harper said, grabbing a coffee pot and menu. She approached the table with her professional smile, friendly but not inviting, helpful but not interested. "Good morning. Coffee to start?" "Please." His voice was low, textured, the kind of voice that carried weight. He looked up, and Harper found herself caught by his eyes, dark, intense, and somehow sad underneath everything else. She poured his coffee, acutely aware that he was watching her with unusual focus. Not in a creepy way, more like he was actually seeing her, which was almost worse. Harper had perfected the art of being invisible. Being seen was dangerous. "What brings you to Riverside?" she asked, falling back on small talk. "Just passing through, heading west." "Long drive?" "Yeah." He wrapped his hands around the coffee mug like he was warming them, though the diner wasn't cold. "But sometimes you need to drive until you figure out where you're supposed to be." Harper felt that statement in her chest. "I'll give you a minute with the menu." She was turning away when he spoke again. "What's good here?" "Everything Maggie makes, but the breakfast special is usually your best bet." "What do you recommend?" Harper hesitated. Customers asking for recommendations was normal, but something about how he asked made it feel personal, like he actually cared about her answer. "The Denver omelet," she said finally, "with hash browns and sourdough toast. It's what I'd order if I had money to spend on breakfast." Something flickered in his expression. Understanding, maybe, or recognition. "Then that's what I'll have." Over the next 40 minutes, Harper refilled his coffee 3 times and tried not to notice how he watched the room with practiced awareness. How his hands showed old scars that suggested a rough past. How he seemed completely comfortable being alone. She'd learned to read people during her years at the diner. Truckers were loud and jovial. Salesmen were chatty and cheap tippers. Locals were friendly but entitled. This man was none of those things. He was quiet but present, solitary but not lonely, polite in a way that suggested real respect rather than social performance. When he finished eating, he caught her eye and gestured for the check. Harper brought it, expecting the usual routine. He'd pay in cash, leave a couple dollars tip, disappear into his car and out of her life. Instead, he studied the check for a long moment, pulled out his wallet and left exact change for the meal on the table. 0 tip. Harper felt the familiar sting, not anger exactly, but disappointment. She'd given good service. The meal was less than $12. Even $1 or $2 would have helped. But she'd learned not to take it personally. Maybe he didn't have extra money. Maybe he was one of those people who didn't believe in tipping. Maybe he was just an asshole despite the kind eyes and respectful demeanor. "Thank you," she said automatically, professionally, already dismissing him from her mind as she reached for the plate. That's when she saw it. Underneath the plate, carefully positioned so only she would find it, was a folded napkin covered in handwriting. Harper's first instinct was to ignore it. Probably a phone number from some guy who thought buying breakfast entitled him to her attention. But something made her pick it up, unfold it, read it. The handwriting was masculine but careful, like someone who didn't write often but made it count. Harper, I know this is strange. I know you don't know me. But I noticed 3 things during breakfast. 1. Your daughter's drawing in your apron pocket shows a house with flowers and sunshine. She's drawing the life she wants you both to have. 2. You're wearing shoes that should have been replaced months ago, but you're saving every dollar for her. 3. When you poured my 3rd coffee, your hands were shaking. Not from caffeine, from exhaustion, from carrying too much alone for too long. I don't leave tips because money on a table is impersonal and insufficient for real need. Instead, I solve problems. If you need a real solution, not charity, but opportunity, meet me at the garage across from the Riverside Motor Lodge tonight at 8 p.m. Come alone. Come ready to consider an impossible offer. If you don't come, I'll understand. But I think you will, because you're brave enough to survive what you've survived, which means you're brave enough to risk hope. Dom P.S. Tell Lily her drawing is beautiful. Harper read the note 3 times, her heart pounding harder each time. This was insane. Meeting a stranger at night based on a cryptic note? That's how horror movies started. But he'd seen her. Really seen her. The exhaustion, the sacrifice, the way she was drowning while pretending to swim. And he'd seen Lily's drawing, had understood what it meant. If you love stories where mysterious strangers offer impossible hope, subscribe and don't miss what happens next. Harper looked out the window. The black Charger was still in the parking lot, but the man, Dom, was already inside it, engine running. As she watched, he drove away, heading toward the edge of town where the motor lodge and its neighboring garage sat like forgotten relics of better days. She had 9 hours to decide if she was brave enough to meet him. 9 hours to decide if surviving was enough, or if she was ready to risk everything for the chance at something more. Harper folded the note carefully and tucked it into her apron pocket, right next to Lily's drawing of the house with flowers and sunshine, and she started counting down the hours. Harper spent the rest of her shift in a state of distracted chaos. She mixed up orders twice, giving Table 3's pancakes to Table 7, forgetting that the regular at the counter took his eggs over easy, not scrambled. Maggie noticed, pulling her aside during the 2 p.m. lull. "You okay, honey?" Maggie's concern was genuine, motherly. She'd been Harper's safety net since the move back to Riverside. "You seem somewhere else today." "I'm fine," Harper lied. "Just tired." "You're always tired." Maggie squeezed her shoulder. "Take your break. Sit down for 10 minutes. The world won't end if you're not running yourself into the ground." Harper took her break in the storage room, pulling out the note and reading it again. The words hadn't changed, but they felt more impossible each time she saw them. I solve problems. What did that even mean? Was this man some kind of criminal? A con artist? Or was he exactly what he seemed? Someone who saw suffering and wanted to help? Harper thought about Jake. Her husband had been a mechanic, good with his hands and better with people. He'd believed in helping others in community, in the idea that kindness mattered. Before the accident, they'd been planning to open their own shop, Jake's dream since he was a kid. Then a drunk driver ran a red light, and everything ended. The insurance covered the funeral and 6 months of expenses. Then Harper was on her own with a 4-year-old and no skills except waitressing and the basic bookkeeping she'd done for Jake's employer. She'd survived, built a life. But surviving wasn't thriving, and Lily deserved more than a mother who was too exhausted to play, too worried to dream, come ready to consider an impossible offer. Harper made her decision. At 5:30 p.m., when her shift ended, she picked up Lily from Mrs. Chen's house, the neighbor who watched her for 3 hours after school in exchange for Harper cleaning her house on Sundays. "Mama!" Lily launched herself into Harper's arms. "I made a new drawing. Want to see?" "Always." Harper settled Lily on her hip, looking at the crayon masterpiece. It showed 2 stick figures, one tall, one small, standing in front of a house. The same house from the drawing in Harper's pocket. "That's us," Lily explained unnecessarily. "In our real house. Not the apartment. The house with the garden like Daddy wanted." Harper's throat tightened. "It's beautiful, baby. When are we getting the real house?" "Someday soon," Harper said, hating that she couldn't promise more. "I'm working on it." At 6 p.m., she fed Lily dinner, mac and cheese with frozen peas, the budget meal that got them through most weeks. At 6:30, she started the bath routine. At 7, she tucked Lily into bed with her rabbit and 3 books. "Mama, you look pretty," Lily said, as Harper was about to leave the room. Harper glanced down at herself. She'd changed out of her uniform into jeans and a simple sweater, the nicest clothes she owned that weren't for work. Her hair was down instead of tied back. She'd even put on the small silver earrings Jake had given her for their last anniversary. "Thank you, sweetheart. I have to go out for a little bit. Mrs. Chen is going to sit with you." "Where are you going?" Harper hesitated. What could she possibly say? "I'm meeting a mysterious stranger who left me a cryptic note because I'm desperate enough to believe it might lead somewhere good. I'm meeting someone who might be able to help us," she said finally. "Someone who might know about job opportunities." It wasn't exactly a lie. "Okay." Lily yawned. "Will you be home for breakfast?" "I'll be home in a couple hours, long before morning." Mrs. Chen arrived at 7:30, settling into the living room with her knitting and her phone. "Take your time, dear. Lily will be fine." Harper drove to the Riverside Motor Lodge in her old Honda Civic, her hands gripping the steering wheel tighter than necessary. The lodge was on the outskirts of town, a relic from the 1960s that survived on truckers and the occasional tourist who got lost on their way to Yellowstone. The garage across from it was even more forgotten, an old 2-bay building with faded paint and a handwritten closed sign that looked permanent. But as Harper pulled into the gravel lot, she saw lights on inside, and the black Charger parked beside the building. Her heart hammered as she got out of her car. This was crazy, dangerous, stupid. But she walked to the garage door anyway. It was open. Dom stood inside, working on the Charger's engine under harsh fluorescent lights. He'd changed from his breakfast leather jacket into a plain black t-shirt that showed tattooed arms and the build of someone who worked with their hands. He looked up when she entered, and something in his expression shifted. Relief, maybe, or respect. "You came," he said simply. "I'm probably insane for doing it." Harper stayed near the door, maintaining her escape route. "But I'm here, so talk. What's this impossible offer?" Dom wiped his hands on a rag and leaned against the workbench. "I'll start with who I am. My name is Dominic Kane. I'm a professional driver, not street racing, not illegal. I work for people who need things transported quickly and discreetly. High-value items, time-sensitive deliveries, sometimes people who need to get somewhere without attracting attention. That sounds illegal," Harper said carefully. "It's gray area," Dom admitted. But I'm selective about my clients. No drugs, no weapons, nothing that hurts people. Mostly it's wealthy people with weird needs. Art collectors who need pieces moved without insurance companies knowing. Business executives who need to get to meetings without public records, that kind of thing. Okay, Harper crossed her arms. What does this have to do with me? I need a partner, someone who can handle logistics, manage clients, do bookkeeping, and occasionally ride along on jobs that require 2 people. Dom's gaze was steady, serious. Someone I can trust. Someone who needs the work badly enough to take it seriously, but has enough moral backbone not to compromise when clients ask for illegal shit. Harper's mind raced. Why me? You don't know me. I know enough. You're a single mother working yourself to death for poverty wages. You're smart. I saw you calculating tips and tracking orders without writing anything down. You're observant. You clocked me as trouble the minute I sat down. And you're desperate enough to be here despite every instinct telling you to run. That's a hell of an assumption. Am I wrong? Harper wanted to say yes, wanted to be offended by his assessment. But he wasn't wrong, and they both knew it. How much does it pay? She heard herself ask. Starting salary, $5,000 a month, paid weekly, health insurance included. Flexible hours that work around your daughter's schedule. You'd work from home mostly, handling calls, organizing routes, managing paperwork. Physical jobs are maybe once or twice a month, and we'd arrange childcare. Harper's knees went weak. $5,000 a month was more than she made in 3 months at the diner. That's not possible, she whispered. Nobody pays that much for administrative work. They do when the work requires absolute discretion and the ability to keep calm in unexpected situations. They do when you're essentially becoming someone's partner in a specialized business. This is too good to be true. There has to be a catch. Dom pushed off the workbench, taking a step closer but still maintaining respectful distance. The catch is that the work exists in gray areas. The clients are rich, entitled, and sometimes demanding. The hours can be unpredictable. And you'd be tied to me professionally. My reputation becomes your reputation. If I screw up, you're associated with it. Why not hire someone with experience, someone who already knows this world? Because experience in this world usually means baggage, connections to people I don't trust, agendas that conflict with mine. Dom's voice softened. I saw you with that drawing in your pocket, Harper. I saw a mother who's giving everything for her kid. That's the kind of person I want on my team, someone motivated by love, not greed. Someone who'll tell me no when a job crosses the line. Harper processed this, her practical mind warring with her desperate hope. I'd need to verify you're legitimate, see proof of your business, maybe talk to a current client. Already prepared for that. Dom pulled out his phone, opening a document. Here's my business registration, Kane Transport Solutions, LLC. Registered in Montana with full tax compliance. Here's my client list. Names redacted for their privacy, but you can call any of them to verify. And here, he pulled an envelope from his pocket, is your first week's pay, advance, cash, no strings. You can take it, walk away, never see me again, and I won't come looking. Harper stared at the envelope. Her hands shook as she took it, opened it, saw 50 $100 bills neatly stacked. $500, more than she made in 2 weeks of doubles at the diner. This is insane, she said again. Probably, Dom agreed. But you're holding it anyway, because you're brave enough to consider it. I have a daughter to protect. I can't just jump into something dangerous. I'm not asking you to decide tonight. Take the money. Use it for whatever you need. Lily's doctor appointment I heard you scheduling on your break. New shoes to replace the ones you're wearing out. Groceries that aren't mac and cheese. Dom's expression was gentle but firm. Take 2 weeks. Research me, think about it, make sure you're comfortable. If you decide yes, call the number I'm about to give you. If you decide no, keep the money anyway and good luck with everything. He handed her a business card, simple black with a phone number and nothing else. 2 weeks. Harper repeated. 2 weeks. No pressure, no obligation. Dom smiled, and it transformed his face from intimidating to kind. "But Harper, I think you're going to say yes, because you're not someone who settles for surviving when thriving is possible." Harper left the garage with $500 in her pocket and a business card burning a hole in her jeans. She sat in her car for 5 full minutes before starting the engine, trying to process what had just happened. A stranger had seen her struggle, recognized her worth, and offered her a way out. It was either the answer to prayers she'd stopped praying or the beginning of a catastrophic mistake. Either way, she'd taken the first step, and she couldn't wait to see where the path led. Harper spent the next 2 weeks conducting the most thorough background check she could manage without professional resources. She called every number Dom had provided, carefully, anonymously at first. The clients were real. A Denver art dealer confirmed that Kane Transport Solutions had moved a Picasso sketch for her last year with more professionalism and care than any legitimate carrier. A Seattle tech executive praised Dom's discretion when transporting proprietary prototypes. A lawyer in billing spoke about Dom's impeccable integrity and refusal to bend ethical lines even when offered significant bonuses. She verified his business registration with the state. She searched his name online, finding nothing alarming, just a few articles about specialized transport services and one brief interview where Dom discussed the importance of trust in his industry. She even drove to the Montana Highway Patrol Station and chatted with Officer Morrison, who'd gone to high school with Jake. She mentioned, casually, hypothetically, that she'd heard about a transport driver named Kane operating in the area. "Dom Kane?" Morrison's face brightened. "Yeah, I've encountered him a few times on traffic stops. Always legal, always respectful. Heard he's one of the good ones in that business. Turns down the shady jobs, only works with legitimate clients." "Why?" "Just curious," Harper had said. Heard the name somewhere. By day 10, she'd made her decision. By day 12, she'd given Maggie notice at the diner. 2 weeks, professional, apologetic. "You found something better?" Maggie asked, surprised but pleased. "Administrative work, transport logistics, better pay, better hours." "Good for you, honey, you deserve it." On day 14, Harper called the number on Dom's card. He answered on the second ring. "Kane. It's Harper Reed. I've made my decision." A pause. Then, "And? When do I start?" She could hear his smile through the phone. "How about Monday? I'll come to you, bring the paperwork, get you set up with everything you need. Computer, software, client files." They met at her apartment, a modest 2-bedroom that Harper kept meticulously clean despite the worn furniture and faded carpet. Lily was at school, giving them privacy to handle business. Dom arrived with a laptop, a secure phone, and a binder full of documentation. He walked her through everything. How to coordinate routes, how to communicate with clients, how to handle the inevitable problems that arose during transport jobs. "Most of what you'll do is problem solving," he explained, sitting at her kitchen table. "Clients change pickup times, routes get blocked by weather or construction, delivery windows shift. Your job is to keep everything running smoothly while I drive." "And the jobs where you need 2 people? Rare, but they happen. Sometimes a client needs their presence verified at both pickup and delivery. Sometimes the cargo needs 2 sets of hands. Sometimes it's just safer to have a partner." Dom looked at her seriously. "You'd never be asked to do anything illegal or dangerous. If a job feels wrong to you, you say no. I trust your judgment." The first month was a learning curve steeper than Harper expected, but manageable. She'd always been good with organization and details, skills honed from managing a household on poverty wages. Now she applied those skills to coordinating Dom's increasingly complex schedule. The money was real. $5,000 appeared in her bank account every month, divided into weekly deposits. With her first paycheck, Harper paid off her overdue electric bill and bought Lily new shoes. With her second, she caught up on rent and put money aside for savings. By month 3, she was breathing easier than she had in 2 years. But more than the financial relief, Harper discovered she was good at this work. She anticipated problems before they arose, negotiated diplomatically with demanding clients, and created systems that made Dom's chaotic business run more smoothly. "You're scary good at this," Dom told her after she'd rerouted his entire week around an unexpected blizzard in Wyoming, saving 3 major clients from missed deliveries. "I was managing okay before, but with you handling logistics, I can actually focus on driving. That's what you're paying me for," Harper said, pleased despite herself. Their working relationship developed into something more, not romantic, not yet, but a partnership built on mutual respect and growing trust. Dom was punctual, professional, and surprisingly thoughtful. He remembered Lily's name, asked about her school projects, sent a gift card to the local bookstore when Harper mentioned her daughter loved reading. "You didn't have to do that," Harper said when the card arrived. "I wanted to. Consider it a bonus for putting up with my schedule." The first time Dom asked Harper to accompany him on a physical job, she was nervous. "It's simple," he assured her. "Wealthy couple in Bozeman needs to transport their mother's jewelry collection to a daughter in Portland. They want someone to verify the collection at pickup and document everything at delivery. Professional witnesses. Why don't they just ship it insured?" Family drama. The mother doesn't trust certain relatives not to contest the delivery, so she wants independent verification that everything arrived intact. Dom shrugged. Rich people problems. They drove to Bozeman on a Tuesday morning, Lily staying with Mrs. Chen. Harper had expected awkwardness, hours confined in a car with a man she barely knew outside of phone calls and email. Instead, it was comfortable. Dom drove with casual expertise, maintaining exactly 5 miles over the speed limit, his awareness of surrounding traffic seemingly instinctive. He played classic rock at low volume and didn't feel the need to fill silence with chatter. "Can I ask you something personal?" Harper said somewhere around hour 3. "Depends on the question." "How did you get into this business? The specialized transport thing?" Dom was quiet for a moment. "I was a driver in the Army. Convoy operations mostly, moving supplies and personnel through dangerous territory. After I got out, I didn't know what to do with myself. Civilian jobs felt pointless. Then I met a guy who ran an art transport business. He taught me that driving could be more than just getting from point A to point B. It could be about precision, trust, service. Do you miss the military? Sometimes. The structure, the clear mission. But I don't miss the violence. Don't miss watching friends get hurt for causes I didn't fully believe in." He glanced at her. "This feels more honest. I'm helping people who need help, on my own terms, using skills I earned." Harper understood that more than he knew. "I get it. Building something that's actually yours. What about you? What did you want to be before?" He trailed off delicately. "Before my husband died and I became a single mom working at a diner." Harper smiled without bitterness. "I wanted to be a teacher, elementary school. I love kids, love learning, thought I'd be good at it. But I got pregnant with Lily during college, married Jake, and life happened. We were happy though, really happy. Jake was my best friend. I'm sorry you lost him." "Me too." Harper looked out the window at the Montana landscape rolling past. "But I'm trying to build something good from what's left. For Lily. And now, maybe for me too." They completed the job flawlessly. The jewelry collection was documented, transported, and delivered with professional precision. The clients paid a substantial bonus for Harper's meticulous record-keeping. On the drive back to Riverside, as the sun set over the mountains, Dom said, "You're a natural at this. I'm glad you took the chance." "Me too," Harper admitted. "It's the first time since Jake died that I feel like I'm moving forward instead of just surviving. Forward is good." Dom's voice was warm. "Forward is what we both deserve." Harper looked at him in the dashboard lights, his profile strong, his hands confident on the wheel, his presence somehow both dangerous and safe, and realized she was starting to care about him as more than just her employer. It was terrifying and exhilarating in equal measure, and she had no idea what to do about it. 3 months into working for Dom, Harper's life had transformed in ways she couldn't have imagined. She had savings, real savings, enough to cover 2 months of expenses if something went wrong. Lily had new clothes that actually fit, and books that weren't from the library's discard bin. Harper had paid off her credit cards and was looking at apartments in better neighborhoods. But more than the financial security, she had purpose. She was good at her job, respected by clients, integral to Dom's business operations. She'd stopped feeling invisible, and somewhere along the way, she'd developed feelings for her business partner that had nothing to do with professional respect. It happened gradually, the way Dom remembered how she took her coffee, how he texted her funny things he saw on the road, how his whole face softened when he talked to Lily on speakerphone, the way he'd started staying for dinner after delivering paperwork, helping Lily with homework, fixing the leaky faucet Harper couldn't afford to hire a plumber for. Harper told herself it was just friendship, just partnership. Dom had never indicated he saw her as anything more than a valued employee and colleague. Then came the job that changed everything. "I've got a problem," Dom said during their weekly check-in call. It was Friday afternoon and Harper could hear tension in his voice. "Client in Seattle needs a pickup Monday morning, but it's complicated." "How complicated?" "The cargo is legitimate, documents for a corporate acquisition. But the client's business partner is trying to block the deal. He's threatened to intercept the documents if they're transported through normal channels. That's why they hired me, to move them quietly." "That doesn't sound gray area. That sounds like you're getting involved in a corporate dispute." "Exactly, which is why I'm thinking about turning it down." Dom paused. "But the client is offering $30,000 for a 4-day job. That's significant money, Harper." Harper did the math immediately. $30,000 would cover Lily's medical expenses for 2 years. Would let Harper finally afford a real security deposit on a house. "What's the actual danger?" she asked. "Probably minimal. Worst case, the business partner tries to follow me or confront me. But he's a corporate lawyer, not a criminal. I can handle intimidation." "What do you need from me?" "I need you to tell me if this crosses your ethical line. You're my compass, remember? If you say no, I turn it down." Harper thought about Lily's drawing of the house with the garden, thought about finally giving her daughter the stability she deserved, thought about how hard Dom worked, how carefully he'd built his reputation, how much $30,000 could change both their lives. "Do the job," she said. "But I'm coming with you." "Harper, that's not necessary. If it's potentially complicated, you need backup. Someone to handle logistics while you focus on driving. Someone to document everything in case there are legal questions later." Harper's voice was firm. "Besides, you said it yourself. I'm your partner. Partners don't let each other walk into gray areas alone." Dom was quiet for a long moment. "Okay. We leave Sunday afternoon. I'll arrange childcare for Lily with Mrs. Chen." "Already thinking about it," Harper interrupted. "She loves extended sleepovers there." The drive to Seattle took 12 hours, split over 2 days. They stayed in a modest hotel Sunday night. Separate rooms, professional boundaries maintained despite the intimacy of working together in close quarters. Monday morning, they picked up the documents from a downtown law office. The client, a nervous executive named Patricia, handed them a locked briefcase. "My partner knows I'm moving these," Patricia said. "He'll try to stop you. Please be careful." "We will be," Dom assured her. They were 30 minutes outside Seattle when Harper noticed the black SUV following them. "Dom," she said quietly. "Black Suburban, 3 cars back. It's been with us since we left downtown." Dom checked his mirrors, his expression hardening. "I see it. Could be coincidence." Could be. But Harper's instincts said otherwise. Dom's driving shifted, not dramatically, but enough that Harper noticed. He maintained speed but started changing lanes more frequently, testing whether the SUV would follow. It did. "That's Patricia's business partner," Dom said. "Or someone he hired." "What do we do?" "We stay calm and we keep driving. He can't stop us legally and he won't risk anything illegal on a major highway." Dom's voice was steady, controlled. "But Harper, get your phone ready. If this escalates, you're calling 911 immediately." The next 20 minutes were tense. The SUV followed but didn't approach. Dom drove with focused precision, staying in populated areas, never giving their pursuer an opportunity to force a confrontation. Then the SUV accelerated, pulling alongside them. The driver gestured aggressively for Dom to pull over. "Ignore him," Harper said, surprising herself with her own calm. "Keep driving." Dom did. The SUV matched their speed, the driver shouting through his window, words they couldn't hear but could imagine. "He's going to try something," Dom said. "Hold on." The SUV swerved toward them. Dom accelerated smoothly, putting distance between the vehicles. The SUV tried again, more aggressively. "Call 911, Dom ordered. "Now." Harper did, reporting an aggressive driver attempting to force them off the road. She gave their location, license plate, description of both vehicles. "Units are being dispatched," the operator said. "Stay on the line." Within 5 minutes, they heard sirens. A state trooper appeared behind the SUV, lights flashing. The SUV immediately backed off, eventually pulling over. Dom and Harper were asked to pull over as well, to give statements. The trooper was professional, taking their account of events, documenting the attempted interception. "This is corporate espionage," the trooper said after reviewing their legitimate transport contract. "You're clear to continue. We'll be filing charges against the other driver." 2 hours later, they delivered the documents to Patricia's lawyer in Portland. The client was so grateful for their professionalism under pressure that she doubled the payment. $60,000. In the hotel that night, Harper and Dom sat in her room debriefing, too wired to sleep. "That was terrifying," Harper admitted, hands still shaking slightly from adrenaline. "You were incredible." Dom looked at her with undisguised admiration. "You stayed calm, made the right call, protected us both. Harper, you were perfect." Something in how he said it made Harper's breath catch. "I was scared the whole time." Bravery isn't not being scared. It's being scared and doing it anyway. Dom moved closer, and suddenly the professional distance between them felt fragile, breakable. "I've never had a partner I trust like I trust you. Dom, I know this is complicated. I know you're my employee, and there are power dynamics and 1,000 reasons this is a bad idea." His voice was low, intense. "But I have to be honest with you. These months working together, getting to know you, watching you be an incredible mother and brilliant partner, Harper, I'm falling for you. Maybe I have been since that first breakfast at the diner." Harper's heart raced. "You left no tip. I thought you were an asshole." "I left something better than a tip. I left you a chance at changing your life." Dom reached for her hand. "And you took it. You were brave enough to meet a stranger in a garage, to take a risk on an impossible offer, to build something new. That's remarkable." "I'm terrified this is a mistake," Harper whispered. "Me too. But I think the bigger mistake would be not taking the chance." Dom cupped her face gently. "Tell me to stop and I will. Tell me this is too complicated and we'll go back to being professional partners only. But if there's any chance you feel what I feel..." Harper kissed him, closing the distance between them, answering with action instead of words. Dom kissed her back with a tenderness that made her heart ache, his hands gentle in her hair, his touch reverent. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Harper rested her forehead against his. "This is a terrible idea," she said. "Probably. We're business partners. We have to work together. I know. I have a daughter to think about. I can't just..." "I know," Dom said again. "And I would never ask you to prioritize me over Lily. Never." Harper pulled back to look at him. "What are we doing?" "Honestly, I have no idea." Dom smiled, and it was vulnerable, and hopeful, and completely genuine. "But maybe we can figure it out together." Harper thought about Lily's drawing, about the house with the garden, about building a life that wasn't just survival but actually living. "Together," she agreed, "but slowly, carefully, and only if it's right for all of us. You, me, and Lily. I wouldn't want it any other way." They talked until 3 a.m., working through logistics and boundaries and all the complicated realities of mixing business with feeling. By the time Harper finally went to sleep, she felt both terrified and exhilarated. She'd taken another impossible chance, and she couldn't wait to see where it led. For 6 weeks, everything was perfect. Dom and Harper maintained professional boundaries at work while exploring their relationship in private. He came to dinner twice a week, helping Lily with homework and fixing things around the apartment. He was patient, respectful of Harper's need to move slowly, conscious of Lily's adjustment to having a man in their lives. Lily adored him. "Is Dom gonna be my new dad?" she asked one night after he left. "It's too early to know that, baby," Harper said carefully. "But he cares about us both very much." "Good. I like him. He's nice and he makes you smile." The business thrived. With Harper's organizational skills and Dom's driving expertise, they were taking on more complex, higher-paying jobs. Harper had enough saved to start seriously looking at houses, real houses with yards and gardens, like in Lily's drawings. Then Patricia's business partner filed a lawsuit. The complaint alleged that Dom and Harper had participated in corporate espionage, that they'd knowingly transported stolen documents, that they were liable for damages in excess of $2 million. It was bullshit. Complete, baseless bullshit designed to intimidate and destroy. But it didn't matter. The lawsuit was public record. Several of Dom's clients saw the news and immediately canceled contracts, not wanting to be associated with legal controversy. Within 2 weeks, their income dropped by 60%. "We'll fight this," Dom's lawyer Patricia Santos assured them. "The lawsuit is frivolous. We'll get it dismissed, but it's going to take time and money." Time and money they suddenly didn't have. Harper lay awake at night doing math that wouldn't balance. Even with their savings, even with reduced expenses, they couldn't sustain the business through a prolonged legal battle. And if the business failed, Harper would be back to the diner, back to poverty wages, back to watching Lily draw pictures of houses they'd never afford. "We could settle," Harper suggested during one late-night strategy session. "Pay them something just to make it go away." That's what they want, to intimidate us into paying extortion money. Dom's jaw was tight with anger. "If we do that, we're telling every future client that we'll fold under pressure. But if we don't, we might lose everything anyway." The stress began to crack their relationship. Dom was angry, at the lawsuit, at their situation, at his own inability to fix it. Harper was scared, her old survival instincts kicking in, pulling away from anything that felt risky. They started fighting about small things, scheduling conflicts, misplaced paperwork, whose turn it was to call clients about cancellations. The real issue was never the surface argument. The real issue was fear, and neither of them knew how to address it directly. "Maybe this was a mistake," Harper said during one particularly brutal argument. They were in Dom's garage 3 days before a court hearing that would determine if the lawsuit could proceed. "Maybe we moved too fast, mixed business with personal, complicated things that should have stayed simple." "You think this is a mistake?" Dom's voice was hard. "Us. I think I can't afford to lose my income and my relationship at the same time. I think I need to protect Lily, and right now everything feels like it's falling apart." "So, your solution is to end this? Just walk away?" "I don't know." Harper's voice cracked. "I don't know what to do, Dom. I'm scared. I'm so scared." Dom's anger deflated, replaced by exhaustion. "I'm scared too. But Harper, we're stronger together. That job in Seattle proved that. We make each other better. Or we're each other's liability. If we weren't together, maybe this lawsuit wouldn't feel so overwhelming. Maybe I could think clearly about what's best for Lily without worrying about what it means for us. You're trying to protect yourself by pushing me away before I can hurt you." Dom moved closer, but Harper stepped back. "That's what this is really about. You're scared I'm going to leave like Jake left, and you're trying to control it by leaving first." The words hit like a slap because they were true. "Maybe," Harper admitted, tears streaming down her face. "Maybe I am. because I can't survive losing someone else I love. I barely survived it the first time, and I had to because Lily needed me. But if I lose you and the business and everything we've built, I don't know if I can do it again. Then don't lose me. Dom's voice was pleading now. Fight for us. Trust that we can survive this together. I want to. God, I want to. Harper wrapped her arms around herself. But I have to put Lily first, always. And right now, putting her first means protecting our financial stability, even if that means stepping back from this. From us. Yes. The word was barely a whisper. Dom looked at her for a long moment, his expression cycling through pain, understanding, and resignation. Okay, if that's what you need, okay. But Harper, I'm not giving up on the business. I'm going to fight this lawsuit, clear our names, and rebuild. With or without you as my partner. What does that mean? It means you can step back from the personal relationship if you need to. But I need to know about the business. Are you staying as my logistics coordinator, or are you leaving completely? Harper hadn't thought past the immediate need to create distance. I don't know. Figure it out. Dom's voice was tired, not angry. Take whatever time you need. But I need to know if I'm rebuilding alone or if you're still with me professionally. Harper left the garage feeling like she'd just made the biggest mistake of her life. But she didn't know how to unmake it. Didn't know how to reconcile her fear with her feelings, her need to protect Lily with her desire to be with Dom. She went home, paid Mrs. Chen, and climbed into bed beside Lily, holding her sleeping daughter and crying quietly until dawn. The next morning, she found Dom's note slipped under her door. Harper, I understand fear. I understand putting your daughter first. I even understand pushing me away to protect yourself. But I need you to understand something too. I'm in love with you. Not just attracted to you, not just grateful for your partnership. In love with the person you are, the mother you are, the brave woman who took a chance on an impossible offer. If you need space, I'll give it to you. If you need time, take it. But don't convince yourself that protecting Lily means you can't also fight for happiness. She needs a mother who's thriving, not just surviving. When you're ready, if you're ready, I'll be here. Dom Harper read the note 3 times, then carefully folded it and put it in her wallet next to Lily's drawing. She didn't know what to do with it yet, but she couldn't throw it away. The lawsuit hearing was scheduled for Monday morning. Harper hadn't spoken to Dom in 5 days, the longest silence since they'd started working together. She'd spent those days in agonizing self-reflection, talking to Mrs. Chen, even calling Jake's sister, Sarah, whom she hadn't spoken to in months. You're scared, Sarah said bluntly. And I get it. Losing Jake traumatized you. But Harper, you can't let fear make all your decisions. Jake wouldn't want that. He'd want you to be happy. But what if I choose wrong? What if I risk everything on Dom and it doesn't work out? What if you don't risk anything and spend the rest of your life wondering, what if? Sarah countered. That's a different kind of loss. Sunday night, Harper couldn't sleep. She lay in bed thinking about the note under the plate, about Dom seeing her when she felt invisible, about his patience with Lily, about how right it felt to work beside him. At midnight, she got up and drove to his garage. Dom was there, working on the charger even though it was running perfectly fine. He looked up when she entered, and the hope in his eyes nearly broke her. I'm sorry, Harper said without preamble. I was scared and I pushed you away and I convinced myself it was about protecting Lily. But really it was about protecting myself. Dom set down his tools. You don't have to apologize for being scared. But I do have to apologize for hurting you. Harper moved closer. You were right, about all of it. I was trying to leave before you could. Trying to control the fear by making it happen on my terms. And now? Now I'm terrified and I'm probably making a huge mistake. But I'm choosing to fight. For the business, for us, for the life we've been building together. Harper reached for his hands. If you'll still have me. If I'll still... Dom laughed, pulling her into his arms. Harper, I've been yours since the moment you walked into that garage. I'm not going anywhere." They kissed, and it felt like coming home and jumping off a cliff simultaneously. "The hearing is tomorrow," Dom said against her hair. "Patricia thinks we have a strong case for dismissal. Then let's go win this thing, together." The hearing was tense, but ultimately satisfying. Patricia presented evidence that the documents were legally transported, that the business partner had no legitimate claim, that the lawsuit was retaliatory and frivolous. The judge agreed, dismissing the case with prejudice and ordering the plaintiff to pay their legal fees. "It's over," Dom said as they left the courthouse. "We're clear." But Harper knew it wasn't quite over. They still had to rebuild their client base, restore their reputation, figure out how to balance their personal and professional relationship. Over the next 3 months, they did exactly that. Dom implemented new policies about the types of jobs they'd accept, creating clearer ethical boundaries. Harper developed a client vetting process that protected them from future legal entanglements. Together, they rebuilt Kane Transport Solutions into something even stronger than before. Their relationship developed alongside the business. Dom met Harper's parents, who drove down from Missoula to inspect the man dating their daughter. He passed their scrutiny, barely, by demonstrating his genuine love for both Harper and Lily. "He's good for you," Harper's mother said privately. "I see the light back in your eyes." 6 months after the courthouse victory, Dom took Harper and Lily to see a house. "What are we doing here?" Harper asked as they pulled into the driveway of a charming bungalow with a white picket fence and a large backyard. "Just looking," Dom said mysteriously. The house was perfect. 3 bedrooms, updated kitchen, hardwood floors, and a backyard that looked exactly like Lily's drawings. "Mama, look!" Lily ran through the empty house, her voice echoing. "We could have a garden, and I could have my own room, and there's space for a swing." Harper turned to Dom, confused. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because I bought it." Dom's voice was nervous. "As an investment property, I thought maybe, if you wanted, you and Lily could live here. Rent-free for the first year while you save for your own down payment, or longer if you need. No strings, no pressure, just—" "You bought me a house?" Harper interrupted, stunned. "I bought us a house," Dom corrected. "If you want it to be ours, if not, it's yours and Lily's, no questions asked." Harper stared at him, this man who'd seen her struggling and offered her opportunity, who'd respected her fear and waited for her courage, who'd bought a house because her daughter drew pictures of gardens and sunshine. "Move in with us," she said. "Not as a landlord, not as an investor, as family." Dom's eyes widened. "Are you sure?" "Mama?" Lily appeared in the doorway. "Can we really live here?" Harper looked at her daughter, at her bright eyes and hopeful expression, then at Dom, at the man who'd become their safe place. "Yes," she said, "we can really live here, all of us." If this story touched your heart, subscribe and stay for more impossible chances that lead to found families and unexpected hope. Epilogue. 1 year later, Harper stood in her garden, her actual garden, with tomatoes and herbs and the flowers Lily insisted they plant, watching Dom teach her daughter how to change a tire. "You always want to loosen the lug nuts before you jack up the car," he explained patiently. "That way the tire can't spin." "Like this?" Lily demonstrated, her small hands struggling with the wrench. "Perfect. You're a natural." Harper smiled, pulling out her phone to capture the moment. Her life looked nothing like it had 2 years ago, and she was grateful for every impossible change. Kane Transport Solutions was thriving. She and Dom had hired 2 additional drivers and a part-time accountant. They'd moved into a proper office, registered trademarks, built something sustainable and legitimate. But more than the business success, Harper had built a life. A real life, full of love and laughter and the kind of security she'd stopped believing was possible. "Mama!" Lily ran over, grease on her hands and pride on her face. "I changed the tire." "I saw, baby. You were amazing." Dom followed, wiping his hands on a rag. "She's got mechanical instincts, takes after her mom, good with systems and problem solving." "She takes after you too," Harper said quietly. "The patience, the teaching, you're good with her. She makes it easy." Dom pulled Harper close, kissing her temple. "You both do." That evening, after Lily was in bed, Harper and Dom sat on their porch swing watching the sunset. "Do you ever think about that first day?" Harper asked. "When you left no tip and I thought you were just another jerk passing through?" "I think about it constantly." Dom took her hand. "I think about how close I came to just paying and leaving. How I almost didn't write that note." "What made you do it?" "I saw you with that drawing in your pocket, saw how hard you were trying, how invisible you felt, how much you were carrying alone, and I remembered what it felt like to be seen when I needed it most." Dom turned to face her. "Someone helped me once when I was lost. Gave me a chance I didn't think I deserved. I wanted to pass that forward. You did more than that. You gave us a life. You gave me a family." Dom's voice was thick with emotion. "I was just driving through, Harper. No roots, no home, just moving from job to job. You and Lily, you made me want to stay. Want to build something, want to be more than just a guy passing through." Harper rested her head on his shoulder, feeling the steady beat of his heart. "I'm glad you left that note. I'm glad you were brave enough to meet a stranger in a garage. I'm glad you saw me when I felt invisible." They sat in comfortable silence as the stars came out. Two people who'd taken impossible chances and built something real from hope and courage, and the willingness to believe that drifters could become family and survival could transform into thriving. Inside, Lily slept peacefully in her own room, in her house with the garden, living the life her drawings had promised. And Harper Reed, who'd once been an exhausted single mother accepting $0 tips, smiled at her future husband and marveled at how a single moment, a single choice to be brave, had changed absolutely everything. She'd found a note under a plate, and underneath that note, she'd found a life worth living,